Hey everyone, back tuning into today's video. Between long-range updates today, the long-range models haven't updated for the month yet. They tend to typically update around the middle part of the month. We're just a little bit early from that. So this video isn't going to be a normal Sunday morning sort of long-range video. We're going to just be looking at the coming week. And then have a look at the Beijing Client Centre for the next month as well. That's highly speculative. Of course, next week I'll have the CFS 6 months look ahead for you, and the week after that, we'll have the second update for the autumn. So, just in between, one of those in-between weeks this week. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Anyway, it's going to be sort of a leisurely Sunday look at the next week and then the next month. Now, before we get on with that, just quickly to mention the ads. As you know, there's links to my course on all pages. Guys, you have a browse with widgets and click through the links. You'll be happy to pay for the website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads on those pages. They open out the content when you watch them. They'll close back up again. It's helping to pay for GazWeatherVids.com. So just want to very quickly start off with the Southern Oscillation Index. On Friday's video, on JMA Friday, I spoke a little bit about how the models have become quite unreliable. Both the longer range models and the shorter range models are really quite unreliable this summer. It's making it quite hard, actually, to come out with reliable forecasts for more than around 5 days ahead. And I was sort of speculating that maybe part of that unreliability that we're seeing at the moment could be down to what's going on in the Pacific Ocean with the Southern Oscillation Index. And somebody's emailed me to ask me to explain a little bit more about that. So just to very quickly say about what the Southern Oscillation Index is, it's essentially a reflection of the state of the atmosphere in the Southern Hemisphere, particularly in the Pacific, from Peru to Indonesia, and then going southwards down into the Southern Ocean. It actually reflects the state of the atmosphere between Darwin and Tahiti in the Southern Pacific Ocean. When it goes very negative, it's telling you that the atmosphere is reflecting an El Nino type setting. Of course, look, we've got the El Nino developing, as we know. It's going to be quite a strong El Nino event. So when the SOI goes very negative, the atmosphere is coupling up with the ocean to produce an El Nino effect. When the SOI goes positive, it's the opposite. So it's sort of fighting against the El Nino or going into a La Nina type setup within the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean. Now, what we're having at the moment, what we're getting at the moment, is a very intense sort of negativity of the SOI, so the atmosphere going very much towards a strong El Nino state for several days, and then it's sort of rebounding back for a few days into positivity, and then you get another wave of very strong negativity. And I've got a feeling that's probably helping to cause the unreliability that we've got within the models at the moment, because remember, the whole of the globes, the whole of the Earth's weather is interlinked. So if there's something very unexpected, very dramatic going on in one part of the world, and in this case we're talking about the Southern Pacific Ocean, it's obviously going to have an effect on how the model sort of model the rest of the Earth's weather. So we start off here on the 13th of June, just to quickly say, or show you what I'm talking about with this. We start off on 13th of June, really quite positive with the SOI at plus 10.60, and again the 15th, 10 plus 10.70. That's reflecting a La Nina type state within the atmosphere in the Southern Oceans. But we go through towards the 19th of June, and then we get a wave of very intense negativity with the SOI. So the atmospheric setup within the Southern Ocean and the Pacific suddenly starts to dramatically reflect the El Nino event that's developing. So, for example, on the 20th of June, we go down to minus 34.4, and then on the 25th, we go down to minus 44.4, and the 26th at minus 48.9. Really very, very intense negativity of the SOI. And, of course, that kind of switch to very negative SOI type atmospheric setup is going to be confusing for the models. It's going to create a lot of confusion within the model output. And just to add to the confusion, after that burst of very intense negativity, taking us to around the 4th of July, we start to rebound back again. So for a few days during July, I've actually gone positive again. The 6th of July, for example, at plus 2.8, and the 7th at plus 13.4. Just the last day we've gone negative again, but only down to minus 3.80. But that could be the start of another burst of a very extreme negativity within the SOI. Of course, overall, then SOI is negative, and that's why the El Nino, or one of the reasons why the El Nino is developing and why we're going to have an El Nino. But we're getting these periods, no more than a week or so perhaps, where we lose the negativity, we rebound back a little bit away from it, and I think that is probably causing quite a lot of confusion within the models for the Pacific, particularly the southern Pacific Ocean sector, and that will have a knock-on effect for everything else that is being modelled by these global computer models. So I think that's why we've got so much unreliability going on this summer, or at least one of the reasons why, anyway. Now, coming back to the weather for the next week, we've got some problems for Friday, talking about uncertainty and unreliability. There is going to be another plume, I think, coming out of Spain and North Africa across many parts of Europe. But whether that gets to us, and if it does, whether it only lasts 2 or 3 hours before it's all pushed away, very uncertain. So this is the GFS chart for Wednesday. Actually going to be building a little bit of a ridge across the country on Wednesday. So it's going to be a mainly dry day. There'll be some rain coming up for today, tomorrow, and again on Tuesday. Some parts, not all parts, some specific areas have some rain over the next 3 days, but Wednesday should be a mostly dry day. But then we've got this area of low pressure developing out to the west of the country, to the west of the Bay of Biscay. It's this one just here. This is causing all sorts of problems with the model output in terms of what this low pressure is going to do. The latest idea from the GFS is to move it towards us as we go through to Friday the 17th. Here comes the low pressure. Ahead of this, there's hot air coming out of Spain, so another Spanish plume is coming out of Spain in central parts of Europe. But it doesn't really get to us because we see from the upper air temperatures that the main core of heat is actually being kept across France and southern parts of Germany. And then as we go through the course of Friday itself, we're bringing a cold front across the country. So the hot air never really gets a chance to get into the country before it's sort of pushed away by the westerlies. And that's quite a big area of low pressure sat over the country for Friday, so I wouldn't expect quite a lot of heavy rain to come in with that. It could turn warm and humid down in the southeast. Temperatures may reach around 25 or 26 down in the far southeast on that sector, but I think overall probably quite a cloudy and maybe even quite a wet day, particularly perhaps for northern parts of the country if that one was to come off. There is precipitation forecast for midnight on Friday. You see a lot of heavy rain, could be thunderstorms in with that across parts of northern England in particular. Of course, where exactly that band of rain is going to be, won't be pinned down till much closer to the time. Through Friday itself, that rain pushes off in towards the North Sea, but giving a real soaking for some parts of the country. And then that opens the door to this northerly flow as we go through into next weekend. So next weekend looking rather cool, rather showery, really bring down northerly winds here across the country. I think the west and south probably getting a lot of dry weather, but there could be showers in the north and the east. And that sort of cool northerly is maintained then through Monday and Tuesday. Another low pressure seems to be threatening the southwest. Interestingly, we'll have to keep an eye on where that one's going. That could give us a repeat of sort of Friday's events. But all the time, we keep winds generally from a northerly type direction, so it remains pretty cool and quite showery. So again, there's no real sign here of a return to the heat, the hot temperatures that we had right at the start of July. In fact, it is perhaps turning into quite a coolish sort of month. I'm not sure where the temperature is going to finish up for this July, but certainly if this GFS run was to come off, I wouldn't be expecting temperatures to be that far from the average really by the time we get through to the end of the month. That's quite remarkable considering how hot we was when we first started. The GEM is a little bit more progressive with the heat for Friday. So here we are on Thursday. We've got a bit of a ridge across the country. There's that low pressure down to the southwest that's causing all of the problems. That low pressure tends to stall more on the GEM out to west of the country, allows these hot upper air temperatures to start to push up from the south across the country. Here are the upper air temperatures for midnight Friday. The heat is much closer to us, and actually it does get in for a little while during Friday. We lift the temperature at 850 HPA above 15 Celsius across much of southern and southeast England. So that would take temperatures probably to around 30 degrees around London and the southeast, 86 in Fahrenheit. It does very quickly get swept away by Friday and into Saturday. The low pressure is progressing across the country, cutting off that hot supply. But it is hotter, the GEM, it's hotter than the GFS for Friday. So very difficult to pin down the exact detail for Friday's weather just yet. In any case, whether we bring the heat up for a few hours on Friday or not, it's all swept away by the time we go through to next weekend. And again, next weekend looking quite unsettled, really. On this morning's Canadian run, the low pressure's in control. We're bringing these westerly to northwesterly winds through across the country. Eventually, we do finish up with the northerly that the GFS was showing, although by day 10, Wednesday 22nd, again, we've got just signs that another low pressure is developing down to the southwest. This could again bring quite a lot of heavy rain across the country. So we're going to keep an eye on this. It does look as though we're very gradually turning things more unsettled, really, as we're going into the second half of July. How unsettled it gets, very much open to question, but it looks like things are just wobbling a little bit in terms of the atmospheric sector. It's been quite a dry first half of summer, but maybe the second half will turn out to be a bit wetter. The ECWF, again, there's that low pressure on Thursday. That's threatening us as we go through into Friday. Here it comes on Friday. This is midnight Friday. This is really in line with the GFS, I think. Not really bringing that heat into the southeast before this low pressure comes in. And this low pressure will be bringing a lot of heavy rain. The upper air temperatures do lift up very, very briefly at midnight on Friday. But by the time you go through to midnight Saturday, it's all gone, all swept away. So I think really this is pushing cooler air across the country very quickly on Friday, and the temperature won't really get a chance to become very warm in the southeast before it's all pushed away. But it is open to doubt exactly what's going on there. And then as we go through into day 8, a week away, so the 19th, unsettled. We've got a ridge in the south, low pressure in the north and the west, and we keep that sort of setup going. Could be a lot of rain in with that setup, actually. There's a weather front strung out there across the north of the country, particularly for next weekend and into the start of the following week. This is Monday the 20th of July. There is some sort of weather front strung out, so that could be really quite unsettled up in the north, quite wet. By the time we get through to day 10, which is Wednesday the 22nd of July, cooler air coming back in from the north and the northwest. So it looks like we're in for a more changeable period, let's say that. Quite how unsettled it gets is open to question. And exactly what's going on Friday, that's very uncertain as well. Finally, just have a very quick look at the charts from the Beijing Climate Centre for the coming month. This is the 10-day period from the 11th to the 20th of July. And hints of quite a lot of northern blocking up here, which normally isn't a very good sign for summer. These are 500 millibar heights, by the way, and low pressure is breaking through across the country. So this is sort of the coming 10 days. It does show things turning more unsettled. Also notice this deep trough here across much of Scandinavia. That's going to bring some very cool and unseasonably unsettled conditions to northern and eastern parts of Europe, I would think. The next 10-day period, this goes from the 21st of July through to the 30th. This is very poor, actually. This shows a trough centre right over the top of the country. And with all this blocking up over Greenland, there'd be a lot of cool air feeding into that trough. So this does sort of imply that as we're going through the second half of July, we're seeing quite a big deterioration in the pattern, turning increasingly cool and increasingly unsettled as well. We go through to the start of August. This is the 31st of July to the 9th of August, and the heights are looking like this, building a ridge down to the southwest and easing that trough away to the northeast. The flow is from a northwesterly direction, so it's not going to be a heat wave, but it's probably turning drier for the start of August, and then the next 10-day period going through the middle part of August, this is the 10th to the 19th, looks like this, with a trough sitting to the north, a ridge down to the south and the west, and the jet stream probably coming more or less through the country, so that's relatively unsettled as well. The best of the weather would be in the south and west, and the worst would be in the north. But I think these charts are implying that the pattern's sort of breaking down a little bit from what we've had through the first half of summer, which has been quite dry, not especially warm, except that brief heat wave at start of dry. It's been fairly dry. I think we're just seeing indications that we may be going into a more unsettled phase of this summer, with more in way of rain perhaps for the second half of July. Be interested to see how that pans out. But coming back to the coming week anyway, we've got some rain in specific areas for the next 3 days. Wednesday into Thursday looks dry. Then all eyes on Friday. I think it's basically just going to be really quite wet across many parts of the country, with a little bit of warmth perhaps getting into the southeast. But there is the chance, just a small chance, that it could turn significantly hot in the southeast just for 1 day on Friday before it's swept away by thunder. So keep checking back on that one. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.